Hello everyone, this is a special video of a not very sped up footage of me trying to draw something out of my comfort zone, so sit back and relax. Maybe drawing something for yourself too as this video plays in the background. For this drawing, I'm challenging myself to draw mechanical details. And what better way to start it off with something I'm familiar to myself, and that is Zara McCarthy and her motival featured in me and my groupmate's thesis film Cywest. If you're interested, you can check it out, links in the description. The rules I gave to myself are simple. I have to draw this as slow and intricate as possible. If I ever felt like I'm starting to speed up and drag the lines without thinking, I would stop myself to take a break. As you can see, sometimes my hands would feel uncomfortable after holding the pen for quite some time and would start to draw quickly, hoping to end things soon. This type of video is inspired by a Korean artist I recently subscribed, called Minjie. They don't do voiceovers but only subtitled as they draw for an hour or more. It's oddly relaxing in a way. Recently, I watched him drawing this amazing Kasane Tetto fan art with bold compositions and colors that I don't think I've ever seen them done before. And that, my friends, is how I decided to do this video. But that's not all. Recently, I've been job hunting all day long. In this day and age, especially here in Hong Kong, not much studios want an animator, but more of a graphic or motion designer. And with the rise of AI, here I am still unemployed 3 months after graduated. A few weeks ago, I started a little series of drawing called Drawing My OCs Till I'm Tired, which is basically drawing as much as I can during that day until I'm tired and upload it to Twitter and Blue Sky. My tiredness can range from feeling tired after doing rendering or feeling tired after only the sketch was done. I thought that it would be cool to make myself do something, draw something, hoping to look back on my 2017 to 2019 era where I called myself as a hobbyist illustrator and making so many animation memes. I thought I could keep it up like how I did back in October 2020 days, but then one day I just stopped. I didn't feel like drawing anything. Got no inspiration on how to draw my OCs in this dusted up folder. Ever since day 18 of that series, which is around 5th of November, so just last week while I'm recording this, I started having thoughts before I sleep. And I know this might sound crazy and fresh for anyone with mental health and insomnia. I hear you getting ready to type first time in the comments. Maybe I should word it up better. I'm lucky to be someone who can immediately fall asleep once I get on bed, but occasionally some late nights, I would have thoughts going through my head and grab myself to sleep. Mental illness artists, am I right? But lately it's every single night, and that's when I felt I might be doing something not right for myself. I got into some part of me that I never knew about before. I started thinking a lot of how I do things. Are my works in both 2D, 3D, arts and animation, are they even memorable to say the least? I know one thing for sure that's memorable is that I do things really quickly. I finished Recursive Tale in a few months. If I add 6 episodes altogether, it makes an hour little movie. But I know story depth-wise definitely needs improvement. It was rushed in some bits, but I was never a story writer type of artist. Calling myself girl or dude sounded off to me, so I just stuck with a neutral term. I could still sleep well after those thoughts, but because crying makes us relief and get to sleep soundly, and I can never really talk about this to anyone because I don't get to write it down into a script for me to read loudly. If I don't have a script, I will be talking all over the place and eventually something way off on what I intended to say. These thoughts kinda stuck with me because I don't know what my art style is. My rendering style is inconsistent, and I'm not sure if this is just an animator thing or if I'm just not very consistent with what I wanted to do with an artwork. This is probably the slowest pacing I could have kept to for this challenge. It is challenging, yeah. Mechanical parts has always been my arch nemesis. I hated using a lot of time to draw fabrics and armor or anything that requires intricate designs to look good. It felt like wasting a lot of time, which is a bad mentality in a way, because art should take time. But for years, ever since I started drawing, I never took my time, not even in animation. Sometimes my animation just felt like it could use some more in betweens. I would say recursive tale is more easy to catch on those scenes where it just felt like not much animation was done, but maybe to some it would look alright because I tend to use cheating frames, like duplicating it and using squashy stretches with good spacing in between each frames to make it seem smooth. It began to hit me and felt like all this time I've just been going on shortcuts. While everyone is taking their time to create art and animations, I was just jumping through shortcut after shortcut, thinking that 1 hour is the deadline, 2 hours the maximum, and I can't go longer than that. If you have followed my art ever since 2017, you will know this channel used to be only speed paints, and it's what everyone loved during that era. And if you read these videos descriptions, notice none of them reach 2 hours at all. Well, not really. Most of them are all done in an hour. Shortest might even be 30 minutes. But the point is, none of my works take a long time to do. It was always within a day. And maybe that's why I can't keep up with this Twitter series I make for myself. It's forcing me to draw something new every single day. From something that I thought could help with art block, turned into something that causes self-doubt every night. So that's when I decided, it's time to slow down. Maybe force myself to slow down. If I'm all about speed, I am no different than those AIs who prefer quantity over quality. My flaws is more prominent whenever I hang out with my in real life friends. They are people with taste. They would know how to critique a movie if its story was done well. And as they critique, I can only listen and try to learn, which sometimes could make me feel out of place. I never really know how to critique. I never know what I really liked. I consume so much media it would change my views depending how the people around me react to it. Maybe this whole time I've tried too hard to fit in, that after so many years, I've never known how to think for myself. There's a saying that suppressing for a long time might lead to memory loss, so there's probably some deeper trauma that leads to this, but it was forgotten. But enough of that, let's talk about the drawing. Choosing my forever arch nemesis as my first challenge, I think is going well. This image in particular helped me shape how the motorfall can be modeled. I was never good at designing vehicles, but I was particularly fond of trying to rig it, so this is all voluntary. Not gonna lie, I'm still not fond of how it looks in final, but we were running out of time to do the animation, so we had to move on. There are still so many parts of this vehicle that are not practical to be put in real life, and not super badass enough visually. But yeah, the model in this image kind of helped on how I can shape this vehicle better and looked more like a horse in a way. So this is kind of like a homage to the final vehicle look, plus the pose is dynamic enough and there's a female rider too. It fits them perfectly. Line art has always been my favorite art process, probably because I found my favorite ink brush to do the job. I would say my art is a combination of both comics and Japanese anime in a way, a mix of realism and cartoon. What bothers me during this phase is, should I color it? Coloring would be quite slow, because they got a wide range of colors, especially the vehicle. I was the texture artist, I put this on myself. In total, I think sketching and line art took around 3 hours, which kind of broke my personal record. I was a little slow, but not slow enough to fix mistakes. So I took a break, which ended up more than just a 1 day break. Came back with fresh eyes to try and see if there's anything I can fix up. After resting for 2 days, I decided to color it, and I like to start with shading this time. My influence on digital art has always been only from speed paints back then. I always see many different liner artists start with a flat color first before shading. But lately, I like shading first, because again, I love this brush. and it feels nice to flow with it. I enjoy making quick brushes on hair and skin, but not clothes, so maybe that's something I can add to my challenge too. Take the time to be wary where the light comes from, and again, if I feel like my hand is trying to rush it, or if I'm feeling exhausted, I will stop and take a break. Rather than setting alarms, I let myself go back to continue whenever I want it. If I ever felt like getting attached to it, that it stresses me out, I would distract myself, like going outside or maybe doing some exercises, or simply lie on the bed. As I was drawing this, it got me thinking what my next challenge it could be. Maybe this is where you guys can help me with. Of all the arts you've seen from me, what is one thing you think I lacked in most of my illustrations? For now, I could think of fabric rendering and composition right off the top of my head, and backgrounds, probably the worst enemy of all. You would think since I've learned two types of 3D software, I would have been able to make my own backgrounds, but I guess the feeling of time consuming is what I fear the most in drawing. Since I still consider illustration as a stress relieving hobby, so it makes sense I wouldn't want to consume too much time on one single drawing. But honestly, now that I'm recording this, I find the fun in it. If I'm not rushing this, it's a fun process, just like how much I like doing animations. I love the satisfaction of just sitting back and look at how much I've done in the past hours and days I've spent on doing my work. Maybe my next challenge should be drawing sceneries rather than characters. What do you say? Well, now that we're near the end, I hope you guys enjoyed this type of video. I've been experimenting on doing things out of my comfort zone, not only in illustrating, but also content creating. If you can tell I was inspired by Tipo, then, well, yes, he's a great teacher. Anyway, here's the finished art. In total, I finished this in 5 hours and took a 2 day break for this one single illustration with mechanical details. I'd say this is a great start to the challenge, and I can't wait to see how much further I can go if I consider taking breaks and take my time to draw and refine. Before you go, comment what other kinds of comfort zones did I need to get out of as a challenge for the next episode. Thank you everyone for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.